I am here with Brian Hu of Who's Geckos, and he is actually the winner, the champ of the Lily White category at this 2025 May Flora Fauna Gold Standard Gecko Club. What's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
What's up, David? David, thanks for having me here, man. It's an honor. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to have you, bro. I can't wait to talk to you because there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about. First of all, we gotta talk about Fiona and just the whole process of you producing her. I know she's a frat, but she won the Lily White category.
hmm
And then I also want to touch on your tigers, bro, because I mean, I was there. You saw me. I was like just mind blown of the tigers you brought, and I think everybody at the show was like, those geckos need to be in the competition next year. So,
Next year,
so
right?
yeah, yeah. So I'm excited about what you got going on, man.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, man. I think the whole story of getting Fiona into this Gecko Gold Standard Club was pretty interesting from the get go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I'll let you tell it.
Because first was you came to me, I was like, hey man, you want to put a gecko in the into the gold standard? I'm like, yeah man, I got a perfect one. And I think it was actually you who started pushing it, because like whenever I would post reels of her, you're like, yo, enter that in, enter it in, enter. I'm like,
Yeah,
and then when I did enter it in, your requirements was 2 years, right? It was 2 years. Year one was 2 years
I had
requirement of
18
age.
months. 18
18
months.
months.
Yeah.
I think I was short like by 2 months, 2 months, and you're like, I can't take. I was like, damn, but it made the weight. It
Yeah,
made
I did.
it made weight, but it wasn't. It didn't meet age, and I was like, damn, a little disappointed. So I wasn't sure. I was like, and I was like, you know what? I'll try it again next year, and it was, and I was happy to be able to get it, because then I contacted you that night. I'm like, bro, I forgot the gecko. I left it at home, and
Yeah.
luckily, I had somebody, one of my friends, another breeder that lives near me, and he came over to my house, picked, and my wife doesn't touch the geckos, so my son, at the time 5 years old, now he's 6, but 5-year old son had to grab the gecko and cup it for me, but
Oh,
luckily
wow.
he works with me in the geckos, so he's very good at it. He knew to use the large deli cup. He knew how to fold the paper towel to put it into the deli cup. Everything. So it was
I
perfect.
can't wait for my little man to be doing that with me, man.
I love working with him. It makes doing the gecko chores way more like, it's better because you're bonding with your kid at the same time. Like, I sit there, he asks me questions, I talk to him about things, I talk to him about life and stuff like that. So it's really fun doing that with the kid. So yeah, so he was
Yeah.
able to get me the gecko, and
Bro,
was able to enter in the competition.
that was so funny. I was like, oh my God, after 1 year of you almost putting her in, but didn't make the age requirement, and then again something happened. I was like, this guy goes cursed, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny, man. But I made it, so it's good, and I ended up winning. So it was well worth the wait. Well worth the wait.
Absolutely, bro. And I love Fiona. Look, I think the cappuccino and the lily white combo, the frappuccino, is one of the most attractive lily white combos you could make because of that frosted. Just like
hmm
it's so unique, you know. I remember, Brian. Before I get into this, I want people to know how long you've been into the hobby, because I know you've been around for a long time. You used to breed leopard geckos, right?
Yes.
And then you started doing the cresteds.
So I actually started with bearded dragons first. That was my first thing, and I started bearded dragons in 1996. So
Wow.
started breeding bearded dragons in '96. That's the first time ever breeding anything. And it was actually kind of accidental breedings, because I didn't, like, I got the bearded dragons for free when I used to work at the pet shop here, Petland Discounts, and somebody gave them to me. I put them in, and she laid eggs, and I bought a hoverbaiter, a chick hoverbaiter, incubated them, hatched them, and then I was breeding bearded dragons like crazy. I was producing like 1,000 bearded dragons at the age of 15 years old, selling it to
That's crazy.
Petland. Then I got into leopard geckos after that. It was kind of cool because at the time, back in the late 90s, like 96, 97, 98, it wasn't, nobody was into like morphs or designer stuff, and everything was just breeding animals just to produce animals, right?
Right.
So the only time now, before they used to call it the leucistic leopard gecko, now it's called Murphy's patternless. So
Mm-hmm.
before they used, so when at that time that was the only like morph type thing, and it wasn't even valuable. It was like the same price as of like a regular leopard gecko, or you would have a high yellow, and that was it. And then albino leopard geckos came out, and that was like the big turn of events of like, oh, what, you can make albinos, and everybody started going crazy, and that's when the whole, I think, designer turn came, and that was like
Yeah.
90 Trempers. I think first one was in 98. Tremper made the albino, was able to or at least I don't know when he made it, but he was offering it at like 98, 99 that time, and that was like 20 grand a pop, and I remember that. And for 19, that during that time that was crazy. People were buying it at that price.
Oh yeah.
So I
It's
started then. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no. I was just gonna say that it's hard for people to believe, but like when these morphs first come out, it's like people are willing to pay anything for them, man. And we saw that with the Crested Geckos too.
I mean, the ball python community, man,
Yeah.
they're like in the quarter million, some of them, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's absolutely crazy.
so yeah, it is absolutely like that. That market is like insane, and for us recently to touch a little bit of that with Crested Geckos, it's kind of cool, you know, right?
Yeah.
We touched up on it with sables and now chochos and stuff like that. Even like, bro, like Xanthics. What were we seeing them at? $20,000, right?
Oh yeah.
$20,000.
Bro, I remember one of the ladies here that produced the first Axanthics, lily white Axanthics. She was in Florida. She popped out some Axanthics randomly. She was selling lily white Axanthics for $50,000, bro. It was crazy.
Oh, that's
It was crazy.
crazy.
So
Fifty
like
thousand dollars. Damn.
it's and she just happened to hatch out like Axanthics at the right time and the lily whites, and she had like a step ahead on the
Mm-hmm.
project, and it was crazy when I'm watching her and I'm like, I'm still trying to get my hands on some Axanthics, and she's like, it was crazy. But so at what point did you make the turn from like
So,
leopard geckos and all
so,
that to crested geckos?
so in uh, so in 2004, I got rid of my whole collection because I was getting ready to go to the police academy, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't have all this and be concentrating on focusing on the police academy and doing all that training and stuff. It is a 6-month academy. So what happened was I got rid of everything, sold everything off, and like I had a whole bunch of different animals at that point, not just cresteds and I mean leopards and beardies,
Bearded.
like a whole bunch of different geckos. I even had like naughtiness at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had and I got rid of them pretty cheap. I sold the pair for like 4 grand at that time. Yeah, for a pair. I mean, they never produced for me. I sold it to this guy, AM Gecko, a long time ago. Then, so 2004, got rid of everything, and then 2009, I had gotten back into it with gargoyles actually, and I had a group of gargoyles, and then I started getting some cresteds, and I had in 2009 to 2000, like, let's see, when did I get engaged? 2014. So 2014. So for 5 years, I was breeding gargoyles and cresteds, not on a scale that I am now. I'm talking about
Right.
like maybe a trio of gargs and maybe 2 trios of cresteds, and that was it. And
Gotcha.
then I got rid of them all in July of 2014 because I only remember that because I proposed to my wife the last day I got rid of my last group of geckos, because the day I proposed is the day I got rid of the geckos. And then,
Yeah.
and in 2019, I came back in and went full blown going into business and making it a side business, and just went crazy from there. So now I'm going on the 6th year of who's geckos,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Dan. I mean, it's crazy because that history. A lot of people that came into this hobby came in like during that COVID spike and that bubble, so they weren't aware of what it was before. Obviously,
Yeah.
you did because you were here before, and then now you see the crazy change I think it's also like just the explosion of morphs that have been coming out that
Mhm.
got the market to bubble up and balloon up. But out of what were you working with back then? Were you like specifically trying to produce tigers back then, or any morph in particular, or was it just like you said earlier, just trying to get your feet wet, trying to produce more animals?
So at the time, it's so funny because I did have tigers before, and that's what I had. So it was weird. I'm drawn because I'm still, even till this day, I'm still drawn to a lot of phantom morphs, like uh, we used to call red bicolors and everything. Now,
Yes.
nope, we don't even use that it's so funny when some people bring up the term bicolor to me. I'm like, oh, that's such an old term that we used to use. But like any red phantoms, dark phantoms. So I have pictures of old dark phantoms that I produced like over 10 years ago. And I was like, damn, they're pretty dark back then.
Yeah.
It's like, I made pretty dark animals back then, not knowing what I was doing, because at the time I was just, we didn't know that phantom was like a recessive gene. We were just
Right.
breeding flames to phantoms, and didn't and I didn't know what I was getting. I was like, all right, this is weird, but whatever. But so I was just like, oh, they're all polygenic, just random stuff just start popping out. But
Yeah.
but now it's
And
different. Now we got a little grasp on things.
right. So fast forward to today, what your breeding operation is today. What are you primarily focused on? Like, what are your passion projects? I know you kind of touch a little bit of everything,
Mm-hmm.
but if you had to like narrow it down to a couple projects that you have to keep and let go of everything else, what are your main ones you want to focus on?
So as of recently, so originally it was the Dark Phantoms. I was all about Dark Phantoms, and I built a huge project around Dark Phantoms. So that's probably gonna be always like one of my thing that I will always love, no matter what. I can always appreciate a Dark Phantom uh, over anything. A clean Dark Phantom that's black as night, right? And
Right.
so that will stay as an original always for me. And now within the last like 4 years, I've been really working on the tigers a lot. So I love the tigers and where I have come with tigers, and just to see progression and results is very satisfying for me. So for me to see that people actually enjoy the animals that I produce, and like, oh wow, those tigers are amazing. Like when you came up and saw my tiger, and you telling me that, whoa, that's one of the best tigers I've ever seen, and Tara Lee also saying that too, because I brought that gecko to sell,
I know.
and Tara Lee was the only person. She was telling me, don't do it, no matter what, don't do it. And I was like, why? I was like, I don't. What am I gonna do? She's like, just keep it. And then, I thank her to this day. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad that she talked me out of selling it. But yeah. So now to see people actually liking the tigers, and after you posted your flora fauna video, people were hitting me up like, hey, oh, you got any tigers like that? And I don't, because I didn't really produce that many in 2024. So I was like, I really don't. I only probably produced like a dozen at most.
Right.
And it's just crazy how much recognition I got from it, and it felt good. It felt really good, to
Well, it's well deserved, man, because it very few people get a vision of where they want the morph to be and actually take it there. Most people are just looking to reproduce what's already out
Mhm.
there, which is fine. A lot of us, a lot of people maybe don't have that creativity yet, but it is very admirable that you had that vision and you stuck to it. And I'm glad you kept it. You said you had some better ones at home, or you said you had some better ones,
I
but
have I have a male that's just like her. It's,
yeah.
it's so I was just like, I don't need a female of her, so I was like, of that version, and I was like, but I'm glad I did, because she's actually, her base is getting more orangey and his is starting to go more rusty. So
Hmm.
I'm actually glad I kept her. So that was one of the most important things, is that base color on that tiger. So that's what
Yes.
I'm glad I kept her.
Yeah, talk to me when you first started this project. What you started with yellow-based tigers or dark-based tigers, and how did you progress that project?
So it's kind of funny, like pr- primarily you'll only see like with tigers to see very bold pattern. You really see it highly on yellow base, right? And you'll find it on dark base, but it's just like kind of weird how you see it. So I was like, what will happen if I put a dark and a yellow? So I put a dark and a yellow together, and I got like a more of a brownish rusty looking color, right? And then so what I did was I was like, oh, I had bought a gecko that from Gecko Barracks, CJ,
Yeah.
and it was when it was born, the baby out of the egg. I was like, wow, that's weird. You really don't see red phantom tigers because so you'll only can tell when they're out of the egg that you can see the tigering, but as reds grow, that red becomes more vibrant, and that phantom, the tiger barring starts to like hide under,
It,
I guess, the
yeah, it
pigment of
swallows
the
it up.
skin. Yeah,
Hmm.
so you don't see it as much. So I incorporated that red with one of the darker, the brownish ones in, and I was able to accomplish what
So
now
when
is
it,
an orangey one.
right.
Yes.
So you bred a yellow tiger to like a traditional yellow tiger to like a dark one.
Yes.
You produce some orange ones, and then you bred that orange one to like a reddish one that has
Reddish
those
one.
undertones.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where these came in.
From yes, exactly.
Interesting. So there's like a whole mix there of different coloration. And that's why that orange is popping out. And it actually looks like a real life tiger where it has the bold stripes that are darker and then that base color that's orange.
Yeah, but the part that I don't know how I did it. Tell you the truth. So I know in some parts, like so I know in tigering, you'll see a lot of like a reverse pinning on the phantoms. So it's you get a little stack. So it's weird. People like, oh, did you take triple X to put into this? And then I said, I guess that would be a good concept to think of, but it literally like how many generations, unless you know your triple X is het phantom, you would I would have to breed a phantom to that and then take the babies and take all the hets and breed back and forth and stuff. I said that'd be like 6-8 years of breeding to just accomplish that. But the barring is what the part like you've seen in the gecko where it's just clean horizontal bars going across and they're symmetrical, meaning
Yeah.
that each side is pretty even and it's clean and there's no broken up lines in there and honestly, I don't even know how that I even got that. Tell you the truth, because it's so hard. It's really hard because
It's
you can't predict pattern. You can't predict pattern. So
exactly.
I somewhat got lucky. I'll share tomorrow. I'll share a video, and today is Wednesday. I don't know when this video is going to come out. So Thursday, I'll share on my Instagram. I'm going to show another baby, a fresh hatchling. You're going to see this tomorrow, and you'll be like, "Oh wow, the barring is consistent." So,
Hmm.
and this is the 20. This is a 2025 baby. This is this that hatched last week. So, so I'm glad that the consistency of the barring is the way where it's at, not like just not just like whole bunch of dark pattern. It's just actual symmetrical patterning.
That's really cool. I recently posted a lily white that has kind of like that symmetrical lily white markings that almost look like a tiger too. It's not a tiger, but it has the symmetrical lily white like harlequin markings going up, and they're like perfectly even on both sides. And everybody was going crazy about that. So there's something that about us that just are so attracted to symmetry,
Yes.
and that's another reason why those tigers are just hitting home. But I think as when in the beginning stages of developing any line or developing any like morph combo, it's going to be a little less predictable than when you start to really refine and breed them, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations in, then you'll be able to produce that more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes a little bit of foresight and like patience and discipline to get to that point.
And
So
Can I
Yeah.
add? You have to
Yeah.
have space too.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell people. People don't realize this. You can't. A lot of people think, oh, I'm just gonna keep the two best from the whole pairing. You actually got to grow out all of them, as many as you can, and select from then, because you can't predict it from when they're like 5 grams. So that's
Yeah.
another thing. Adding the space to having to hold back as much as you can if you're working on a specific project.
Yes. Yeah. Very good point. And that's something that we should talk about more because, everybody talks about, I want to get into breeding. I want to breed these high-end animals and I want to develop my own line. It's like, okay, before you do that, make sure you know what you're signing up for, because if you want to develop your own line, if you want to get all these projects and you want to grow these out, there's a lot of animals. The Crested Gecko produces a lot of babies in
Mm-hmm.
1 year. So, it's tough to just go at it with thinking very short-sighted. You have to think long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's especially foundation building on a project, because you're really gonna make a lot of animals that are not desirable.
Yeah.
Meaning that because you're kind of experimenting a little bit at some point, even though you have a gist of what you want to do, but you want to experiment a little bit too on top. So you have to do you can't just do one pair and be like, oh, that's my foundation. Like I would build on like 4 to 5 pairs to build the foundation first, and select within that group, and then select and breed according to groups. Which one, this group will go with that one, this baby will go with this group, or whatever it is. So people don't realize you can't produce all these animals and think, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit whatever jackpot. Like some of these may come out looking like wholesale animals. Like you're gonna be selling these for $30, $50, or whatever it is,
Yeah. Now, what are your thoughts, especially because we are talking about your tigers and how you have to be very, specific in what you choose to put into that project. What are your thoughts on line breeding and versus selective breeding? As in, like, when do you decide, okay, this I'm okay with breeding either sire to offspring or maybe grandsire to offspring, or are you mostly like, I'm gonna collect as many different lines as I can that are as close to what my end goal is and then work from there? What are your thoughts on that?
So primarily, I will go the selective breeding route, right? So that's what I'm going to do. So for me, let's say I'm going to use my darks as an example. So my tigers, I can use that as an example, but a lot of tigers that I accumulated came from random people, because not a lot of people were working with tigers, right? Because it wasn't a desirable trait in the beginning, right? So,
Yeah.
there's maybe like a good I'm going to say less than 5 people that actually do tigers that are good, that are where I wanted to be. So finding them was really hard to source. So in terms of dark, right? Let's say my dark projects, I source darks from everywhere, from Gecko Junkie, from Altitude Exotics, from what's her name? Her name's Angelica Gills. She's in California. She has her darks. There's who else did I do? Who else is known for darks? I pretty much got every single line of darks, bred them in certain in groups, and not groups but different like sets of pairs, and then picked the best of the best, and then put the best of the best from that group pair, that one pair, and then took and that's how I built my foundation, right? Although Muzan, which is my main dark pair, that dark one that came from Kyle from, the guy disappeared.
Reptiles?
Yes, Cryptiles. Yes. I got that one from him, and that guy he's like my main dark breeder, but I also had females from everywhere. And then so when you get to a certain point where you can't source the animals that you want, I think at that point, then I, like in tigers, like I'm at a point where I can't source any better tigers right now. There's actually 1 or 2 actually I wouldn't mind looking to get, but I've reached out to them to try to get some of it, and they're not releasing. So I was just like, all right, so what do you do at this point? So now you're at a point where you're funneled, where if you were to pick something random, a random tiger, you're just going to go backwards, right? I don't want to go backwards. So at this point now, I did multiple pairings where there's not enough, like that there's enough genetic diversity where I can take a offspring that has maybe that's rated related by 25%, you know, like not like a quarter sister or a quarter brother, you know, and then I would pair it to them. I generally I'm not against line breeding, but I will try to stay as far away possible if I can avoid it.
Absolutely.
But there's points where you can't avoid it, and you're just like, all right, if I have a half sibling or a sire to a offspring, and you're like, you have to think about it. If you can't progress with the offspring without breeding back to a sire or a grandsire, then I think at that point it would be okay to do. Or obviously proving genetic traits. That's almost a given at a point, like proving a genetic trait, like, oh, if this is a recessive trait or you know, incomplete dominant, you want to produce a super, like you think you have something and you have to do that. But that's where I'm at with like line breeding pretty much.
Yeah, I think it can be done responsibly, of course, line breeding, but I think it's not for some of the newer breeders might not be very aware of what to look out for when they're starting off. And you got to keep in mind that whatever animal you decide to line breed, you're going to get all the good that comes with that animal, but you could also get all the bad if there's any bad in there. And sometimes there's stuff that is, you know, just like there is recessive traits for the phenotype on the outside, how it looks, there's also recessive traits for what's happening on the inside of the animal. So when you double down on those genetics, you might be unleashing something that you don't want to. But I think if it's done responsibly, especially if you have some, like you said, if you have some new blood in there to break it up, it can be done. But you have to be very disciplined and very honest with yourself that if you see the best baby hatch, but it's very small and weak and it's not thriving, then you're going to have to make the hard decision to feed that to your lychee. You know,
Oh.
no, I'm just kidding. No, you're going to have to sell that as a pet only. You're going to have to sell that as a pet only or not keep it in your breeding program. And sometimes that's a hard decision that we have to make as breeders, is that your best looking animal sometimes is just not going to be up to par to your breeding standards.
So I'm open book, so I'll talk about it. I had a collab, and I'm not going to name the person I collabed with, and the person so what had happened is the genetics were, for some reason, weren't what he said they were, and then when I bred it, I had reproduced 6 offspring. Every single one had head tilt, and it was all messed up. And I was like, there's no way that, like, the first one hatched, and I'm like, all right, this was a little messed up. But then every single one from that one was all messed up, and I'm like, damn. So I, like, you know, obviously I was like, I can't breed this one together. There's no way I'm breed it. But his female was super dark, like just as dark. And I had to cull 3 of them because they were really bad, and then the other ones I ended up they were eating fine. The only thing is they couldn't jump really well, and I gave them to somebody that I know they're not breeding at all.
Right.
So that's the only thing. So it happens. You know, it happens, and people don't talk about it, and that's the thing. You know, that's if people were to talk about it more and just be open about it, we all learn from everybody else's mistakes and stuff. You gotta be able to cull an animal, or you know, if it's not gonna have a good life, you know, if it's gonna have a stressed out life or a terrible life, you're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, and that's not, you know, that's not super common, but it does happen, especially when you're breeding, you know, hundreds of animals or whatever. Like, you're gonna get the occasional deformity or an animal that can maybe survive on the very, very like least amount of you know, like it'll just have the least quality
Like,
life as
like
possible, and you don't want that.
and syringe feeding it so it survives. That's not terrible. That's not good. That's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So, and actually, when I remember when the lily whites first came out, there was some lily whites that were hatching with a head tilt. I don't really see it now, honestly,
No.
but I remember hatching. I mean, I've hatched, I don't know how many lily whites at this point, but I have hatched in the beginning, especially, and like some that had like that little bit of a head tilt. But people were attributing that to the lily white gene, but I've hatched those type of animals too from regular like groups.
Hmm.
So it's just something to watch out for and to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
and I wanna kind of circle back to Fiona
Yeah.
and because Fiona she's the champ of the Lily White category this past Gold Standard Gecko Club competition, and like you said, she or like we were talking about when you first posted that, bro. I remember. I mean, it was earlier in the frappuccino stages, and I
Hmm.
was like, dude. I'm like, this is one of the most craziest, sickest frappuccinos I've ever seen. How was that? Is that your first generation frappuccino for you, or tell me
Yes.
about that.
So that was she was actually the first frap I hatched ever.
Get the hell out of here.
First frap I ever hatched. And I'll tell you so I got the female off of Craigslist. This is remember the whole
Craigslist?
yeah, remember the craze like only RCK had caps at the point, and the only way you would really find a cap without spending millions of dollars was finding them at PetSmart, Petco's, or like
Yeah.
pet shops. So I remember just going through Craigslist every day. I'm like, oh, I need to get this cap. And I just saw it. I'm like, yo, this thing looks cap. I was like, this thing is crazy. So I hit him up. I'm like, yo, you want to sell me this? He's like, I was like, do you have any more? And he's like, yeah, I got this and the dad. So I took this, her and the dad, like the dad's cap too, and she's cap. So so I paid $75 for her.
No way. At that time,
It's
which was freaking insane.
Yeah, and I was
I'm
remember
sure.
posting her. People would offer me like 5 grand, whatever, and she was RTB already. So I was like, nah, I want to breed her. I want to breed her. So so I was like, I need a lily white. So her structure was terrible, terrible structure. So
Yeah.
I knew I needed a good structured male. So at the time, I was hunting for like a big head male lily white, which wasn't like crazy easy to find. Except I
Yeah.
found one at the time. I bought it from Mark from Northern Gecko. I saw one on his thing and it was like 2 grand. I was like, all right, I'll spend the money on the $2,000. At the time, lily whites were like, yeah, they were like $1,500 to
Yeah.
$2,000. So
Yeah.
I bought this. I was like, this guy's got a good head, and he was really white. So that was the main thing. And she was just like looked like a regular phantom cap, like a phantom cap. So, but she seemed like she had like looked like a soft scale cap. So it was like a little different. So
Yeah.
Fiona, if you look at like she looks like she has like a little soft scale in her because of the base pattern, but where the white lily white is, it's super thick. It could
Yeah.
be that the super thick is making it appear like that, but whatever it is. But that's when she hatched, I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of tri-color into this frap. So
Yeah.
which is cool because a lot of fraps is just like lily white and dark base or whatever it is. So this one had like a lot of undertone orange in it, and that really like gave me that wow factor of her. And also she for one generation of breeding, I think her structure came out pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I did. I think for whatever reason, um Cappuccinos. Well, I think it's because that they don't have the best structure, but I think it's because they've been wholesale geckos, and they were being mass produced by the reptiles by Mac, and they were in,
Yeah.
that's why they were in all these Petcos and everything, and they don't really care about structure or anything, so that's why their structure is kind of like weaker than some of the other morphs that we have, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think that structure is not that hard to kind of
No.
like insert into your to your offspring if you have the right pairings. But she came out good, and another thing that I noticed about the fraps in particular, lily whites already do this where they make the scalation kind of thicker, but then you add a frap into that, and it seems like it just exaggerates that even
Yeah.
more. I don't know if you've noticed that.
It's like I guess not on all of them, but some of them I can
Yeah.
see it. Yeah, I have like it's weird because I have two of her siblings. I have a male that I kept that doesn't have that same scalation, like that thick scalation like her, and also that he doesn't like. She used to be super white, but she's starting. I know now she's almost 3 years. She's like 3 years old now, so she's starting to yellow a little bit. But when she for a whole year and a half, she was white. She was like really white.
Yeah.
But her siblings, they weren't as white as her. It's weird. So it was
Yeah.
a little different. So she was the first one, and she was the best one. So I was like, oh damn, I hit one good one. The other ones aren't bad, but it's just saying like they didn't have that consistent look, right? So
Yeah. That
so
wow factor that you said.
yeah, yep.
Yeah. I think whenever you breed like your geckos or whatever, we sometimes have these expectations like every baby's gonna be a freaking knockout or a freaking home run, but it's not like that. That the reality of the matter is that a lot of times maybe 1 out of 10 would be like holdback quality, and that's why it's important to like we were saying earlier is to be disciplined with your program and know
Mm-hmm.
exactly what your standard is, because you're gonna be able to see all the offspring that they produce, and then you get to pick the best one. But if you're not being patient or undisciplined and you're just selling whatever comes, then your projects aren't gonna develop as fast as they could.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Are you gonna say something?
No, I was just saying like anybody who ever gets into this, it's patience is probably the most like important thing in this whole thing. It's because in the last 6 years, I've seen so many people come and go, left and right, come and go, and it's because they're not. After 1 year of breeding, they give up. They're like, "Oh, I didn't accomplish what I expected to accomplish in the year that I did this," and then they end up leaving because they're just frustrated and they want to be at the top from the first year. It
Yeah.
takes time. Everything takes time. Whatever you do in life takes time. It's not like no get rich quick schemes.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Ain't no Bitcoin. You can't buy Bitcoin at $2 and expect it to be $120,000 tomorrow, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
everything's patience.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things about like just breeding animals in general, and especially like us that we have a business, and this is like we make income from this, and people see it and they might think, oh well, it's easy. You get $1,000 gecko, you put it with another $1,000 gecko, and then you
Mm-hmm.
make $1,000 geckos, and it's not as
No,
simple as that.
I
And
wish it was. I really wish it was, but it isn't. But
yeah,
it makes you feel better when you get to a certain point and you accomplished what you did, right? Like
yeah,
just in even like we're not even going to use geckos, but like look at your YouTube channel, right? How like you had to start somewhere, right? But you stayed consistent with your YouTube and look at where you are now, right? So that's
yeah.
everything is like you have to be consistent and patient. Those are the two most important things: consistent and patient.
Yeah, you can't look at someone where they are today and compare yourself in the beginning to that person,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because like I've been at this for 15 plus years, and then somebody coming in might see what I'm at right now, and they're like, well, if I'm not gonna be like that, it's not worth
Yeah.
it. Well, it
Yeah.
doesn't go happen overnight. But anyways,
Absolutely.
what are you most excited for in the future with your breeding projects, Brian? I know we
Um.
touched on the Tigers, but what else are you got going on? Are you excited about?
So honestly, it's really refining on tigers. I don't want to like, so it's. I have a little bit of everything. I have a lot of like high coverage stuff. I have sables. I have caps. I have fraps. I have all xanthic lily whites. I do, and just a little bit of everything. But that doesn't like until I get to a point where I can sell an animal and somebody can look at it and be like, oh, that's from Who's Geckos. Like, just look at it and just be like, that's from Who's Geckos. Without anybody saying anything, that's where I want to be. So for me is to refine on something that I can just keep building on. And I think tigers and dark phantoms. I mean, dark phantoms is hard because and it's hard for me at this point. And no disrespect to Brian Butler, I love Brian. He's a nice guy. He's a great guy. We get along. We're great friends. But everybody's like, "Is that charcoal? Is that charcoal? Is that charcoal?" And I'm like, "No. Why is that charcoal? Charcoal is altitude's line." And I want to get to a point where I could just name my dark phantoms, but I'm just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that until later on. Even though I've been doing it for a long time now, but I want to be able to have something like if I can create this tiger that we're talking about, like, and keep it so consistent where they can breed this and the baby offsprings will have it, that I have it so stacked that it looks like that every time, then I want to be at that point. And that's where I want to be accomplished enough to be like, oh, okay, Who's Gecko's tiger? That's his. And that's what, so that's what my future in this hobby I want to be at.
Nice. Yeah, I think everybody should have that goal in mind to have their little stamp in the Crested Gecko book, like
legacy.
Legacy. Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
Now, Brian, do you obviously you work with a ton of Crested Geckos. You've told us about the bearded dragons and leopard geckos. Mm-hmm. What other gecko species are you working with right now?
So I have a lot of Phelsuma species, probably all the ones you got. I got Clemerive, Cypridiana, I got Ornatas, I got Borbonicas, I got what else? I got Ligo, Williams Eye. I do lychees. I have lychees. I got a pair of GTs. I got snowflake. Super granites. I got a pair of super granites, and then I got a pair of Kogus. Then I have probably like 6 pairs of Kahua, all white collar PI white collars. I have 2 pairs of Saracenorums. I have all the Urodactylodes minus Symmetricus, because that's the one that not many people have. Three species that not many people keep. I have 3 pairs. One is Diplodactylus galeatus, Diplodactylus fricosus, and Diplodactylus granaris rex. I was doing Pristeris carteri, which you got from me before. Scorpion tail geckos, but I just got out of them. I was doing viper geckos. Bro, I have everything. Yeah. You know what I just picked up? I picked up a pair of frog eye geckos.
Did you really?
And somebody had it at the show. I'm like, man, I've actually never owned these, and I wanted to get it, and then I got them, and now I don't like them. Bro, they're so skittish, and all they do is burrow and make caves in the sand, and I'm like, they're all right. And then I keep other species. I got Anolis small woody eyes. I got a pair of them. I got Kimberly rock monitors. I got you know which.
Bro, are you keeping all this?
Bro, I have 3 rooms of reptiles now. My basement. I have two small 1 bedroom and a small little office. You know what species I actually really like, and it's the Colodi species. I have Colodis and Colodis pethiogodi. So I have both of them. You have them? Yeah, they're awesome. And I just got eggs from my pethiogodi. The Colodis, they're still young. I got those from Aaron, AS Reptile Corner. You know Aaron. And then pethiogodi I got from Justin Munsterman from Legacy Herps. Yeah. Nice. So I keep a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think most of us that do, well, we all have a passion and a love for reptiles, obviously. but the crested geckos tend to be like the gateway to a lot of other species for whenever I talk to people at the reptile shows, it's like, yeah, I got a crested gecko, and then now they're picking up like a freaking Cuban false chameleon from me, or whatever the case may be. So it's fun to see that people aren't just like limiting themselves to the cresteds, because it's there's like such a big world out there.
Yeah, yeah, that really is. It was like so like for me like like your gateway reptiles are always going to be either a bearded dragon, a leopard gecko, a crested gecko, and or bull python.
Oh, python, yeah.
It's like your four. It's like the four basic food groups, you know.
Yeah,
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 so it's funny, you know. It's but they're the most available and they're the easiest, probably one of the easier ones to care for. Like I just was in Dominican Republic for like 8 days, and I didn't have anybody even come take care of the geckos. They didn't need to spray, nothing. They're fine. They didn't have to
yeah,
feed for 8 days. Fine.
yeah, yeah. People forget how reptiles are not like mammals. A lot simpler to keep.
Absolutely.
Now, brother, I wanted to ask you. So I want your honest opinion and your honest thoughts on the Gold Standard Gecko Club. I want to know what you think of it. What can be better? What do you like that we're doing? Just want to pick your brain on that, because obviously I like that um, you're my buddy, so I know
Yeah.
maybe if it was like complete shit, you would still enter your gecko. But I want to hear your honest thoughts.
No, man, I honestly love it, man, and I think more people should enter it. The more people that enter it, the better this gets.
Yeah.
Obviously, so it's great to have this like competition, but not only for flexing reasons, but to actually give breeders something to strive to breed for. Right? There should be some kind of like, okay, yeah, this you can flex. Oh yeah, I got the best lily white, or like Jordan walked away with like a dozen freaking awards, you know. But that's even though you're flexing, but like it's great because you're striving to do something that's recognized, right? You're recognized for something, and that's why. Like you got the AKC that has, you recognize you got champions, grand champions, and all this stuff. So for us to progress in our industry as crested geckos breeders, or even like because you also have gargoyles now. You incorporate
Right.
gargoyles. So in the gecko world, for us to have this kind of standard or competition, where it's we're evolving. We're evolving as a hobby industry or whatever you want to call it, and it's
100%.
and it only makes it better for us. It only makes it better for us because we there there's rules and regulations of okay, you must have produced this. You can't just buy an animal and just throw it in there or whatever it is, and
Right.
and you can't have like, oh, okay, this one has a funky looking whatever. It's got a left arm, missing arm or something. There's something that has to be set, and I love it. I love every single part of it. The only thing, if I were to say, if it should be more often, not like
Yeah.
I know it's hard because you're running it solo. So if this were to grow bigger, right, bigger, that you can
Yeah.
have it at let's say an Anaheim show, Daytona, Tinley, what's the other NARBC shows? All the
Texas.
Texas
Texas. Yeah.
one. You got the other one, Schaumburg. Florfana again, even Rochester. Rochester's a big show. But like, so the difference is these are reptile shows, but you need to get the crested gecko or the gecko community involved more to get these to be handled there. Because, if you walk into a reptile show, you're going to see like 50% ball pythons, like 40% crested geckos, and then 10% everything else. But if everybody gets involved, it only grows and becomes better, and that's my take on the whole thing. But if better when you have it spread out more, because it
Yeah.
gets more people involved. Because how many people are going to come to one location? Not
Right.
many. Not many people can make that flight and bring their animal to Florifana in New York. And
Yeah.
but even though there's a lot of people that do it, but it'd be best when more people
Right.
do it.
Yeah, so our next competition is going to be at the National Reptile Breeders Expo here in Daytona.
Hmm.
So, by the way, and you guys can sign up now if you're watching and you want to put in one of your geckos. You could just go to our website, email us, and we could get you signed up. But so that is part of the plan. We want to go to California, we want to go to Tinley, we want to go to
Hmm.
Texas, but it is a little bit hard in the beginning just because it's not profitable. So I'm just trying to like kind of
Hmm.
like with the help of the sponsors, we've been able to do a lot more than I could without them. So we're definitely going to be able. We're going to get to a point where we go to Texas, California, Tinley, New York, and spread out the show a little bit more because I think that there's so many badass breeders all over the country that I want to give everybody a shot to participate and compete.
So
So yeah.
I just thought of a quick idea. I mean, there's so many logistics to this idea right now. But
Okay.
if what if there was a way that people can send the gecko to you or whatever destination that needs to be sent, because let's say they
Mm,
can't, but we can ship a gecko for $50, right, across
right.
the country. $50, we can ship a gecko across the country and whatever. But there's obviously a lot of disclaimers like, hey, because there's a lot of responsibility on the person receiving the gecko, and somebody's shipping their best gecko to you. So if something happens to that gecko, they're gonna be like, oh, what the fuck you do, right? So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like disclaimer and logistics and stuff. Obviously, you would dedicate somebody to care for the animal to the best of their ability in the care, whatever, right? But
Yeah.
so I don't know that I mean I would do it. I would do it. I would send my gecko to wherever location and be like, hey, listen, I want to compete here. Or even better, if there are, let's say somebody that's in like going to, like, let's say I know Scott, Miami Art Geckos, right?
Yeah. And
And
he's going to Daytona.
I'd be like, hey, Scott, I want to enter my gecko into the Gecko Gold Standard Club. I got this gecko. Do you mind bringing it for me? And then I can fill out all the logistic paperwork with you,
Right.
and then send it with Scott, and then he deals with. Obviously, it's on. Like I would put out, like, Scott's my close friend, and I trust him to take care of my animals. And if God forbid, knock on wood, nothing happens, but I would understand.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's the like you anybody could do that right now, by the way. Like
Yeah.
if you wanted to send one to Scott to enter for Daytona, you're more than welcome to. But
Hmm.
at this point, I don't want to I think we're going to get to that point where everybody ships me their geckos. Maybe when we do like a grand championship event, because I would want all the best champions to be at that event to crown a grand champion. But it is a good idea because, like you said, not everybody has the time or capability to fly across the country to some
Yeah.
reptile show, right? So I think that is a really good idea, and honestly, um, well, that may be something we incorporate in the future, and maybe
Mhm.
everybody ships to me. But yeah, I'm taking baby steps right now, Brian.
No, 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 I know. What are we on? You're on. This is second year, right? Second year on the
Yeah,
goals.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
see. I see a future in like 5 to 10 years. This thing's gonna be huge.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about
Huge.
it. I
It's gonna
think.
be like it's gonna be a stand. It's gonna legit gonna be a standard. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
standard.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm hopeful for. That's what I'm, excited about. That's my whole vision with this thing is like I see so many things pop up on social media and people like breeding these animals where I'm like, dude, like I know it's freaking bright as hell, but look at the structure, look at the you can
Mhm.
just tell when an animal is weak sometimes. And I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
some animals and I'm like, maybe we shouldn't be breeding that because it's just gonna affect the gene pool.
yeah. Disqualify their ass.
Yeah. But it's good to just give somebody, especially the newer breeders, kind of like a picture or something to shoot for.
Absolutely,
And,
absolutely.
and not everybody's gonna agree. I'm not. At the end of the day, uh, you breed whatever you want. But I think most of us breeders that have been doing it for a while that I talked to, we all kind of like said, okay, this feels good. you know.
Hmm.
And if it changes in the future, it might change a little bit here and there. There can be tweaks, but I think we're good. We're at a good point right now, and I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Love it.
Yeah, Brian. Thank you, brother, man. You're my homie, and I appreciate you
Always.
coming on and talking about your tigers and Fiona. So thanks so much. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find
Thanks.
you?
Yeah, just who's geckos on Instagram. That's the best way. I'm not as active recently. Give me like a couple months. I'll be more active and more back into posting and stuff. Let me just take care of some issues and then I'll be good. So just give me some time. But I'm at who's geckos on Instagram.
All right, my man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.